I'm Ryan.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Between Shelf and Screen. I'm not going to add effects in.
That'd be cool if you did.
Okay, maybe I'll think about it. But
Yeah.
it would only be the wrong effects. So
Get
you
a fart
decide.
noise.
I thought that was the correct one.
Yeah, that is the correct one.
Okay, so it'll be something different. Maybe like some stupid explosion, because who would start the episode like that?
Dude, not me.
Anyways, we're going over I Am Legend. Richard Matheson.
Yeah, Richard
Matheson.
Matheson.
Yeah, that's it.
Does that actually confuse you, that last name? Matheson.
Why is there an E in it?
It's because it's Matheson.
Matthewson.
Yes.
Okay.
Put it there. Give me some skin. That was terrible. That was so bad. All right.
It doesn't matter who it's by, because it's awesome, and
Yeah.
that's my opinion. So today we're going to be discussing just our opinion, so don't get upset if you
Yeah.
disagree with
Hey,
us.
listen, our 4 viewers. Keep it civil in the comments section. That's non-existent. Nobody comments. We're speaking into the void.
I feel like this is the least controversial book too. Like, I don't know, I've never heard a bad thing.
Yeah, no, everybody loves it.
Yeah, I don't know why I started that one.
And we don't say anything controversial either. We're like, alright, snowflakes. Don't get offended.
And I wanted to make it clear that these are all my opinions.
Yes, yeah. Oh, God.
Are you
That
gonna
had
share-
no reason to be that funny.
It's because we had matcha. Caffeine.
Yeah,
We haven't had caffeine in a while.
that's true. Alright, so...
Are you going
what-
to talk about your opinions?
Yeah, well, you first. Because I've reread it. Oh, I've already read it before.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, a little bit. So
This is a
you
podcast about our first reactions, and you are just not. It's just me today, guys.
Dude, she's got to give her opinions because I've been dying to hear them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I got a little bit of whiplash after reading American Psycho, because that was a book that was not really that long, but it felt like it took forever. And this is a book that's not really that long, but it felt like even less. Like, I just devoured it. It's so good. And it's like, I would say it's a slow burn because not that much plot is happening, but it's so short that it can't really be a slow burn because you could finish this in one day.
Right, and it keeps your attention, I feel like.
Yes, and then for being like an older book, it's still, I feel like, holds up the same.
It almost feels refreshing for like, what's it called? Like apocalypse genre?
Yeah.
Like dystopia.
Yeah,
It
and
feels very...
but it's still simple at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like the same, so maybe we should explain what this book is for anyone that hasn't
Yeah.
heard of it. You know it better than me. You explain it.
Yeah, so it's this guy, Robert Neville. He was, I believe, in the army at one point. There was like a big war. Doesn't really explain it too much, but basically...
Yeah, there's not that much explanation into his past, really.
Right, yeah, but this zombie virus... Not zombie.
You're getting confused already.
Yeah, I'm getting confused already. Vampire virus comes about.
Well,
and
it's
then-
actually bacteria.
Oh,
virus,
sorry.
so-
But yeah,
Yeah, take a biology class for once.
I'm getting that in the movie mixed up. Anyways,
Oh,
yeah, but
spoilers. I haven't watched the
spoiler
movie.
that. It's good too, but we'll get into that. But yeah, so this zombie disease comes about.
No,
and-
it's vampire disease.
We're not gonna get through this episode. Vampire disease comes about. Robert Neville is like one of the only ones that is like immune for some reason, and his wife dies from the disease, comes back as a vampire. Yada, yada. But anyways, he's alone, and they come to his house every night and they harass him from the outside, like trying to get him out.
Yeah, and it's just kind of him surviving in this world. And yeah, it's a simple plot. It's the same kind of vampire that you would expect. Like, it doesn't add anything. Like, they don't sparkle like Twilight.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same vampire
Traditional.
lore. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. So, you know, I didn't have like high. Well, I don't know. My like expectations were average. You know, it wasn't anything that necessarily drew out because like I've always been a fan of apocalyptic stuff. So it's not like this is my first time reading something like that, but it like highly exceeded my expectations. It was really good and definitely worth it. It's such an easy read.
Yeah.
But there's still like hidden meanings and things to analyze in that book.
Right.
Which luckily
Especially
for you,
the ending.
we're gonna go over.
Especially the ending is like one of the best endings.
Yeah.
Ever, I would say. Like it's awesome.
Especially for an apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Because we won't spoil it yet.
Like,
Unless
that's probably the
Alex
best part.
has other things in his mind.
Right. It's probably like in my opinion the best part of the book. Like just
Really?
like the best twist. You know. I really loved it.
I did too, but I felt like I'm trying to think of what my favorite part would be. I think it was him and his relationship with one character.
Ruth,
No.
his wife.
No.
Oh, Coram.
No. No, I did actually like his relationship with one of the vampires.
Yeah.
But no, I like the dog.
Oh.
I did think that plot point, there's a little plot line involving a dog, which I won't get into yet. But like, I just thought that was like so refreshing, and yeah, I liked seeing that, and it had all my feelings drawn in by that point. So.
Right. It really, this book does a really good job of like explaining like how isolation gets to you.
Yes.
It's like it expands on it way better than I feel like The Martian should
The
have.
Martian, yeah, The Martian really didn't.
At all. Like, the guy's just totally fine being alone for 4 years. Or not 4 years.
No, it wasn't 4 years. It was
like a full year.
Yeah, it was about a year.
But still.
Insane.
It's wild. But yeah, it really expands on that, and like, you really get to know Robert Neville, obviously, because it's like told from his perspective, ultimately.
But it's still third person.
Right, yeah, third person limited.
Yeah.
You're inside his mind, but like and also I feel like you get enough perspective on how like the apocalypse came about and like what the world was like, and that war was like I like that they didn't go into it too much about like the big war that happened, but I wouldn't have minded if they expanded on that a little bit more because that was kind of interesting.
Well, wasn't this written in like the 50s?
70s, end of the 70s, I want to say. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was 50s, and so I always thought it was just kind of like World War II reference.
Well, I think it. Oh man.
I mean, the book took place in the 70s, so you're right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and we don't know. We don't know enough about the world to know if it's just an apocalypse in our world or like more of a fantasy, a whole other world with just people are the same. Like
well,
it
does have a fantastical element. I mean, like the vampires are a fantastical element.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I like how there was like variations between vampires. Like there was ones who could like speak.
There's one that tried to turn into a bat.
What?
One of them climbed up the telephone pole and then just jumped off because he thought it was a bat.
I forgot. How did I miss that?
That was so funny to me.
Yeah. No, and then like there's some like I think there's like a variation. So like there's ones that like died from the virus and then the virus brought them back. Not the virus, but died from the disease and brought them back. But then there's ones that lived and they were just turned into like high functioning vampires. They can like think like not as well. Like,
they described it as being in a coma.
Yeah.
But like you're not actually physically in a coma, but the person you were is not awake anymore. It's this other being that is using a symbiotic relationship to take over, or not take over the body. Yeah, it wants to feed, and so it's using the ability that your mind has to get food
and like can like speak and stuff and like walk around and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, it's evolving because it's a bacteria. It's alive.
Yeah.
So it's evolving, and there's different levels to it. It's basically like COVID if you really think about it.
Yeah. You know, this really reminds me of Conan.
The author never would have thought that was going to be a sentence movie.
Dude, he probably panicked when, like, it started.
COVID?
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
I don't know.
Yeah. I was assuming that he was dead, but I literally have no reason to do that. So.
Yeah.
I just assume anything that was created before me was 100 years ago, because I'm Gen Z.
Oh, no, he died in 2013.
Rest in peace.
He was born in 1926.
Wasn't the movie made around 20? No, it was early 2000s.
Oh, there's two different ones. One that was made in, like, the 80s, I want to say. I've heard that one's garbage, because it's, like, basically, like, a vampire shoot-'em-up 80s guy movie. But then, like, the other one, I think it was made in 2008 with Will Smith. It's good. Like, actually.
Objectively, subjectively?
It is. Yeah. I think objectively it's a good movie. Okay. But
so this is not just your opinion, and this is fake?
Yes. Yes. People liked it. I liked it.
I've heard
I saw it
about
first.
the movie, too. Part of me feels like I saw it because it totally would be something, but I have no recollection of ever seeing it. I didn't even know when I heard of I Am Legend. I thought it was like an action movie that's about I thought it was just action, no apocalypse.
Oh.
And like it was still dystopian. I don't know. I don't think I saw the movie.
Instead of being in like LA, it's in like New York and like Manhattan. It's.
I feel like that would totally change. Well, maybe not.
This is not a spoiler, but it's drastically different from the book. It still has similar aspects, but it's drastically different, which kind of is upsetting. But I'll let you figure out why. Because like
you let me be upset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, like you can even see like in the movie poster, it's Will Smith with a dog. So like the dog is very important to like the story in general.
Right.
Like the
dog was just a plot point in the book.
Yeah, in the. It
wasn't a main character.
In the movie, that dog is like his dog.
Okay.
So, but anyways, you'll see it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. Oh my gosh.
It's one of those. It's kind of like Hill House in a way where.
So
it's drastically different. Yeah, it's still good, but.
And same kind of.
I don't think it was like good enough to the point where like Hill House, like, oh, I prefer the show because it's just so great. Mm-hmm. I think it was good enough to like be like, okay, fine, I'll let it slide. You know what I mean?
Bro, I was thinking about Hill House today. I don't even remember why, but I was like, man, that show I want to rewatch.
I do.
So good.
I listen like. Ever since we met, basically, I've been preaching to her about the show. I do it to everyone because I'm like, guys, it's a hidden gem.
Insufferable.
Yeah, because I'm insufferable. But it was so good. Oh, I could talk about that for like 3 more podcasts. I love that show.
Let's tag the episode. I don't remember what episode number it was, but it is one of our episodes. Go listen if you haven't already.
Yeah,
it's good.
We can make 3 more about it.
Tune in next week where we're also going to talk about it, apparently.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll get back to the book. So, I mean, what are like striking moments, things you liked, didn't like?
I guess I'll start with characters. I thought the characters were all, like, not necessarily well-rounded because they weren't that developed since it's so short.
Except for Robert.
Besides, Robert. But they all were good. They all were unique. They didn't feel like just like a shell of a person, which I feel like is very easy to come across in this kind of book and how short it is. I really liked Robert. I feel like he made sense as a character. Yeah, very realistic. And I'm trying to think.
There's Ruth.
Ruth was very interesting.
Yeah, she had her purpose to serve. Not necessarily as well-rounded.
Yeah, she was probably my least favorite, but there aren't that many characters.
Yeah,
there's like 5.
5, yeah.
If you include the dog, which I do. But I really liked the main vampire. What was his name?
Coram. Ben Corum, I want to say. Or
Oh god. I feel like we always do this.
yeah, we do.
Especially me. I'm always horrible with names.
The characters' names are tough unless you have a lot of time to like have it repeated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we just didn't have that with this one.
Yeah. But I thought it was very interesting seeing this character just like this vampire harassing him, like in such silly ways sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, that was refreshing to see because you don't really get that in apocalyptic movie shows now. Like they're just not verbal or alive enough or remember anything. But these vampires did remember, like, or some of them remember their past life, which was so interesting to me.
Yeah,
and I
like
thinking
the lore
about
was so fascinating. Like, it made you want to learn more and more. And like when he went into like a scientific study of it, and that's honestly that's when the book to me really like found its feet and like had me drawn in a lot.
Yeah,
so
that was one of my other favorite parts. I like that more than the twist at the end. I thought that was more interesting. But wasn't he saying it was bacilli?
Bacilli?
Bacilli, yeah.
Well,
that's a mushroom. Like, that's fungus.
I always
that actually aggravated me though. That was the one thing, but it was interesting trying to tie in science. But he kept saying it was bacteria, but isn't bacilli? Maybe
I thought he was saying that it wasn't bacteria.
Maybe you're right. He called it a germ, which I thought was silly.
I feel like it's an old term.
Yeah, it is.
I still use it though. Like every now and then I just be like, oh, it's got germs. I'm like, what am I, 50? Like, okay.
But I feel like for the use that he was using it for, it was even sillier. Like, instead of calling it a disease, it was a germ. I don't know. But
okay. It's a virus. I was correct. In the book.
It's
Crippen virus, also known as KV. Oh wait, no, never mind. That's film. Dude.
No, hold on. I'm putting this little section out.
The vampirus.
He did call it that.
Yeah, I kind of love that. So yeah, okay. Neville couldn't get infected because he had a bat bite that he received in the army.
That's right.
Yeah, so it originated in bats, which is very fitting because vampires. I thought one of the.
It's a bacteria.
Is it okay? Never mind. Sorry.
I'm just feeling.
Oh, he was
silly.
when he was explaining it, I'm having trouble recalling it. Because when he was explaining it, he was just like, oh, well, this disease acts like a bacteria, but it's not. I thought, at least.
He was saying it's not all, because it had a psychological play to it.
Yeah.
It was, mass hysteria, and, what you believed in carried through. So I think he said, initially it's the bacteria, but your reaction depends on your psychological state and
right. I loved. Oh, one of the best.
I'm thinking of mycelium. That's where I got confused.
But he does mention bacilli.
Yeah, it's a bacteria, but I mixed that up with mycelium, which is a fungus.
Right.
Anyways, I'm just dumb and I need to go back to biology.
But what was so cool when he was talking about some vampires get deterred by the cross, but if it was a Jewish vampire, you hold them to Torah and they get scared.
I thought that was interesting.
That was really cool. I like that little twist on the vampires, and also just the science behind a stake, and how that killed them. Because,
that was really well thought out. It wasn't just because it's the lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked all that addition, and it was interesting. The one character. That's when he brought up how he was remembering that one of the guys climbed the telephone pole and just jumped off. For whatever reason, he was like, I realized that they were so, convinced about vampires being, related to bats or can turn into it, that they thought that they could turn into a bat when that's not how the virus works, because it's not actually vampires.
Right, yeah.
Or how the disease works. Now I'm calling it a virus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like,
it's
especially
the easiest way to describe.
In dystopian stories, virus is the easiest one because it's not with a bacteria, you can usually get antibiotics will cure them. like some sort of bacteria. But like with the virus, you can't outright cure. Like you need a
vaccine.
Yeah, vaccine.
Yeah. But they're anti-vax in this.
In this house. In this house.
No.
I ain't getting no.
But anyways, I thought it was interesting, like the different kind of states that you were in or what you believed in could lead you to jumping off a telephone pole or, still staying true to yourself, but personally thinking you're a vampire.
Yeah, in a hysterical sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, oh man, I almost want to get into the ending a little bit or like spoil the ending because there's so much to talk about.
I think it's about time we can get into spoilers because we've talked about the characters. Do you suggest it?
I suggest it.
To people?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You were just like, I suggest it without knowing.
I thought you meant like, do you suggest getting into it? I'm like, yeah.
No, the book. I also suggest it. What did you rate it? If you had to get
honestly, I mean, if we're doing stars, which I said many times I don't do, but I'll do it for this one. It's 5 out of 5. It's really good. Like there's really nothing wrong.
I think it was 4.75. Screw you. No, it was really good. I would give it 5 stars, but it's not my favorite 5-star that we would cover. But it is like highly impressed me.
I just loved it because like it got the dystopian sort of apocalypse genre, even like inspired zombies. Like it was like the first story to make all that popular, and yet you read this and you're like, this is so like original. Like all the stuff put out today is just like almost carbon copies, especially when it comes to like zombie stuff.
Twilight, okay?
Yeah, you're right. That's a masterpiece. But yeah,
Twilight actually carried the dystopian.
Team Edward, am I right? But no, like it's so like original still to this day. Like it sticks out. Like it's a solid like dystopian like apocalyptic sort of book. Like, it
still holds over. It's not like, oh yeah, it might have started it, but there's so many other better things, which I think there are great things to come out of this genre, but this still holds up with all of them.
Yeah, like and honestly, like the ending alone makes it a lot better than most of the stuff that's pumped out now. Like a lot better.
So now we're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
So, spoiler warning. Read it if you haven't already.
Yeah. Read it, nerds.
We gotta say it at the same time. All right,
guys.
So
let's get into it.
All right, guys. So the ending.
Thanks for holding us up for that. So, what was your gut reaction?
To the ending.
Yeah, like were you like? We gotta get a thumbnail.
I felt like, I don't know, Natalie, I have no thoughts. That's my opinion.
I thought your eyes were just gonna go like.
It wasn't my favorite part of the book, as I've already explained. I thought it was really good, though, and I liked it. I think that's what needed to be done because there was no escape out of this. And it's, like, so interesting to think about the society. Like, when everyone's gone and it's just them, that's just going to be the norm. And, I mean, he was, as he said, like, the minority. It's like, ooh, that's kind of freaky.
That ending is, like, just when he goes, I am legend, and that ends the book, I'm like, that is cool. That's such a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Oh, my shoulder.
Quit making sounds.
Sorry.
Quit that. Stop. This is not an ASMR episode.
Anyway, we are not on track today.
No, we're not. That's the whole point of the podcast. We're supposed to talk about whatever we want to. And they're just supposed to listen.
Yeah.
Whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. I felt like it made me freaked out. That like, and blah, 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 blah. They can like construct whatever history. Like they can explain whatever they want now. And I just like thinking about how the generations are going to go. And it doesn't go over any of this book. This is just me like
speculating.
I'm just playing off of the just story in general. It's like it's freaky the amount like little vampire kids are like we're all normal and this is how it's supposed to be, and they could be like, oh, there were these nasty humans at some point and they were disgusting and gross and they tried to end our lives for no reason.
And and they're like, oh, and there was this Robert Neville guy who was just slaughtering our people. Like he's a monster.
And they can like blow up into anything and it'll be a legend. Like that. Like that. And,
Bruh.
But
Bruh.
It's kind of freaky to think about because they're functioning at the end. They are literally functioning as a society.
Yeah, and the fact that like he thought he was alone this whole time, and he's sitting there like, oh, like you're reading it along with him, and you're like, wow, like he's not only like a good guy that you can get behind, but he's the last there is, and he's like fighting these terrible like monsters, and you figure out like, oh, like it's such a perspective shift. I think a paradigm shift is what it's called. Because you're like, wow, he really thought he was being like the last hope in the world, but he was just being terrible, like murdering people.
Yeah, that's very true.
They're essentially a serial killer,
right?
Like,
and
he had
Ruth
no idea.
Puts it into perspective.
Yeah, because like Ruth was like, you killed my husband, but then she had some like sympathy for him too, which was like interesting.
Yeah. So then, what did you think about like that whole society?
I mean, the author was definitely playing them up to be like, oh, like they're gonna be like a savage society, but at the same time, like what they didn't seem all that bad at all. Like they just killed the vampires that were like too far gone.
Yeah.
And they grabbed
unfunctioning.
Neville. They grabbed Neville, the one who's been killing like their people. So it's like that wasn't terrible at all, really. They, like the only thing that it thought was terrible was the fact that they were smiling when it happened. It was like.
And when Ruth was like, "Well, you were kind of insane.
Yeah.
You chased after me." Which did you know that Ruth was gonna? Well, I guess you watched the movie then.
So the movie's totally different.
Okay.
So
let's just focus on them.
Well, the book like it's so different that it felt like I was reading the story for the first time.
No problem. That's good.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, like Ruth is totally different.
No problem. But when you were reading the story, did you think that Ruth was going to be a vampire?
Well, I like the author does a good job of setting like seeds of doubt when like she smells the garlic and she's so like hesitant to let him do it, but then you're like, oh, well, she could be that way just because she's scared of him. Like you don't know. So like I had my feelings about that, but then at the same time, like when they like embraced each other and they were like talking about like just their losses, I was like, oh, so this is just a new partner. But then she clubs him over the head.
That was savage.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that coming either, because like I feel like even if he found out she was infected with the relationship that they had, it wasn't like he was just gonna like just turn around and immediately slash her.
Not at all. No.
So like she.
Well, I feel like he probably would have like sat there and been like would have been like, oh, you're like me, you got infected, and like you're immune.
Really?
That's what at least that's what I thought, because like she was so functioning.
Yeah, she was.
And it was kind of interesting because like, could she eat food? Like we never really got these answers. Like, does she still need blood? Like.
Well, she was having the blood pills.
Well, it's pills that block the symptoms, so she could go out for short periods in the daytime.
That's right. Yeah. So, but it also blocks then the hunger aspect too, probably, right?
No, I'd imagine. So
it's
she
blocking
probably just
like
eats food.
Yeah, because it's blocking the
so they're
bacteria.
So they're still people, essentially. Like they're not like vampires.
Right, because it's blocking the symbiotic bacteria that they're having a symbiotic relationship with. So then they're not forcing this body to, or it's not acting parasitic to the host anymore.
Right. And now that I think about it, like as that society progresses, like that
They're
pill
gonna build
is the pill's going to be like the most important sort of like I guess supply that like they need.
Mm-hmm. But
It's
I feel like
so interesting.
when they become more connected as a society, they're going to have more ability to research further and possibly find antibiotic.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah,
we're like working things out now.
Yeah, it is kind of funny too, because like I feel like in the American Psycho, we had so much to say. Like, what was it? That podcast was like an hour and 30, and we could have kept going.
Yeah, I think I cut some of it. I think it was like an hour 10.
Still,
but yeah, we could have went over every little thing. So
yeah, because there's just not that much to go over.
Oh yeah, no.
Like that's what I was getting at, because it's like in the American Psycho, you're just like you read it and you're like, what?
But
so you have to like talk to somebody about it. But like with this one, it's so straightforward. It's so well rounded. Like there's no plot holes really that you're like, wow, I liked it.
Satisfied.
And then like you can't really say too much about it.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the dog though.
Oh yeah. That was very upsetting.
I loved the like just desperation that he had, and that he was like holding on to this, this first other being
like
that wasn't a vampire. Yeah. And then when he finally got, the first time when he realized like the dog was sick, and he was just like so desperate and was like, I need to find a cure. I need to do this. Like I'll find something. And then he finally gets the dog into the house, and they're like bonding. It's like, okay, at least this dog can somewhat survive. Like it's ill, but it's okay. And then it's just like, and then he's like saying, oh, you're gonna be my good boy, you're gonna be my dog. And then it just says, oh, the dog died a week later.
Yeah, like 4 days.
And most of the next chapter, and I'm like, I was not prepared, and I got whiplash, and I was very upset.
Yeah, that was upsetting, dude.
Yeah, I was holding on a dear life to that plot point and that dog, and then it just dropped a bomb and was like, the dog died. Anyways.
Yeah, that was rough, dude. In this movie, it's going to destroy you. I'm telling you, dude.
Stop spoiling it.
I'm not spoiling it.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Dude.
I can't handle it. I was already so upset.
When I was young and I watched it, like you're really young, I was like,
oh no, I'm still really young. I'm gonna cry like a baby.
Yeah, dog deaths hit harder, man, in movies, and then human deaths. Like somebody dies in a movie, you're like,
oh, American Psycho. Animals. I was more upset about.
Oh my god,
that's not true. I was pretty upset about all this.
Yeah, they were really upsetting. So upsetting to where you're just like, I need to put this book down. I need to like, take a cold shower. Like I feel terrible.
Yeah, I had to put it down for a second.
Yeah.
When the dog died, but I still really like that plot point in addition.
It's like the death of hope.
Mm-hmm. And he even said something like that after.
Yeah.
He was like, well, it's just going to show like that I was willfully hoping, and I can't do that. I was like, life kind of sucks.
Yeah, your life is actually the worst. I mean, he always had steak though and whiskey, so I mean, it couldn't be that bad.
How?
Yeah,
no way.
Yeah,
that was the only unrealistic.
Because it was like what, 4 years? Like
3 years.
All the steak would be spoiled by then. Like unless he had a massive fridge in his house.
Freezer. He even said that there was no electricity anywhere else, so whatever was in his freezer was the only thing good luck. But then he was like, had an unlimited supply of food.
Oh, yeah, I guess wine lasts, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not in the freezer.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah,
that was the only unrealistic part. I feel like the food and the electricity all going off of the generator. Like, well, he would have had more issues.
Yeah.
That.
Dude, I felt for him when he was talking about, like, flashbacks of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was sad. Because he was, like, a good husband, too. Like, a solid guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and he really cared about them It kind of like cut at weird points, though. I felt like it didn't really transition well between the flashbacks.
And like, okay, so he was talking about how he had to kill his wife at one point, but like never really described it, right? Yeah, okay.
And then I don't think he ever really went over when she rose again afterwards. He just said that that's what happened, and he had to do it again. And I was like,
yeah, it was a little like I would have liked a little bit more elaboration.
Yeah, it was a
but I
little
think
vague.
the most tragic part is like so the disease killed her, right? So she came back as kind of like too far gone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the pill wouldn't have.
I don't think so.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean we don't know enough though, but I don't think so.
And he mentioned a kid so briefly.
Yeah, and that's what I was always wondering about.
I'm like, what about the kid?
Yeah.
And
she was like, she was going to school.
Yeah, like they made it sound like she just like went to school one day and just didn't come back.
Yeah.
And then like
Well, did you think that they sent her off to her grandparents? Because they talked about that once, and then they're like, yeah, she's probably fine. But then they never mentioned what happened.
Yeah,
to
like
her, so
that was a big one, and I was scared to mention it because I feel like I might have just like missed it in my reader comprehension or something.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah,
because he kind of, I think, one time briefly mentioned her name, but again didn't give any.
Yeah, and said she was sick, right? She was feeling down.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened to the kid.
Yeah, and like he doesn't even like. He's more upset about the wife. Like he constantly talks about the wife, but like mentions the kid once, and then that's it.
And there's been relationships in series where the spouse was more upset about the spouse's life rather than the kids, but they were still distraught over the kid.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand. You've been through a lot more with your spouse. I don't have a kid, so I don't know how.
I mean. At least every parent I've talked to, like,
would say that.
Yeah, they're like, the kid, like, okay, yeah, like, so say you have a death in the family, they'll be like, oh, obviously my spouse should probably die over my kid, because the kid has his whole life ahead of him, and also it's like mini you.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, and that's what I would think too. But people respond differently, and maybe it's just like.
But you don't learn anything about the kid,
right.
Which is the part that's kind of the most upsetting. It's like, did she live?
Exactly. That's what I thought was weird, because I was like, even if he wanted to go the route of like, well, he misses his wife more because he needs someone, like, he needs his person to lean on in this moment, you would still be talking about the wife. Yeah. I mean, sorry, the kid.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like you don't even care.
Yeah.
I just forgot about that part.
Because he could have just taken that out.
Yeah,
and then
the kid, yeah.
Because it was just so, like, obviously so unimportant.
Yeah.
It felt like he was going to expand. They could have done something pretty cool, I feel like. Like, maybe, like, the kid is the one coming to the house every night, too, along with Cora.
That'd be freaky.
That would have been terrifying.
Yeah.
Even more traumatizing, too. Like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Or it could have been like, oh, he sent the kid away, and I have no idea how my kid's doing, and like that's the only hope that he has is that this kid's still out there safe, or he's like broken up because he's convinced that they have to be gone and he's the only one to live, and maybe he's like, I regret sending her because I could have protected
right.
I don't know, a whole bunch of different things, but they're like, so anyways, I had this kid and I kind of just threw him away.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I have a kid, but anyways, don't worry about that. My wife, on the other hand.
Yeah. So that was weird. I'm glad I kind of almost blocked it out of my mind because I was like, I feel like that didn't even happen.
Yeah, no, I felt like I was just reading it wrong too. But like, yeah, that's the thing.
Weird.
Okay. That's the
was
one
there even
thing.
a kid in the movie?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. We decided to talk about that more next week.
You should watch it tonight. And then then call me about it.
And then we'll have nothing to talk about next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's time to just talk about the cover of your book.
Yes.
I think he's mostly excited about this.
Look at it. I got it in London.
What?
I got it in London.
Oh, by Maths?
Yeah. Matheson.
Matheson.
And they gave me a cool bookmarker that I just figured out I had.
Yeah, because he didn't read the story.
Yeah.
And he never saw that it was in there.
I had an audiobook.
Did you realize that audiobook?
Yeah.
I just knew.
Yeah. Well, it's so good. Like, it's so well voiced
It was
acted.
really good. I pulled up a few parts because it has some of it, like the previews online. So I read part of it, and I listened to the rest on the audiobook. It was really good.
It's
I
awesome.
want to buy the book.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, the London cover and everything, like, they have, like, a special copy, and it looks so cool. I mean, like, look at that.
This is the only reason I knew it was about vampires.
Yeah, like that. Like, if that's what they look like that's terrifying.
Yeah. And I never would have. Like, I would have went into this book if it wasn't for the cover. I would have went into it thinking that it was just like an action, and he was just going about, like, kind of like The Road.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting.
So.
You want to expand on the cover? You want to kiss it?
Oh, I already said. Got it in London. I splurged. And I got her American Psycho copy too, so she could thank me for that. Did we show the cover?
I think we did. I don't know. Grab it. It's already up.
Yeah.
I say as you're not up.
I got some cool copies. Like.
Yeah, I love this one. This is so much better than our copy.
Yeah. No, this is the coolest one. I mean, look at that. Look at that art. It's so dope.
Is that his victim's blood?
Probably.
There was one part in this book, this is so random, but there was one part, and he was like describing a photo, and then the chapter ended with, and it looked like this. And I was like, there's no picture. I wanted there to be a picture in this book. Why would he end like that? And then
the chapters would just end so abruptly.
That was probably my favorite part about this book. It's just like,
I'm like, wow, this chapter
this is so random, but so humane at the same time. Like, that's exactly what people would do.
Yeah, and just it's so abrupt, and like you're like you end the chapter, and you're like, wow, this chapter deliberately wasted my time.
Those are my favorite ones. The other ones were just mean.
Terrible.
Anyways, I guess we're still not over this book.
Yeah, we're not. We're like, this is gonna be our new book too. Like reference instead of like The Road.
The Road. Yeah, we've moved past The Road.
Yeah, we've moved on.
Yeah.
You can see it up there.
We need to organize those. Now it's actually getting like a style.
I know.
I need to organize them. I need to do something.
Dude, we gotta go to Barnes and Noble and get the next copy.
I think next week we're going over finally a lighthearted book. I think.
Well, not next week. No.
Oh yeah, sorry. The next book we're going over.
Yeah.
Is gonna be Emma.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
women. Yeah. It's because
I love women. Or do I?
It's because we're in Barbie season right now.
Yeah.
So we're going over.
I'm Kenneth.
I haven't read Emma. I haven't seen the movie. The movie's recent. It's with the girl that was the chess girl.
Oh.
In that
I always forget her name.
Queen Gambler.
Yeah, I am very attracted to her. Like, and she's like, and it's gonna sound mean. She's odd looking, but I love it. You know what I mean?
I know. I think people can acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a mean thing to say.
Like she's not like she's distinct. That's better. Odd looking sounds mean. She's very pretty, like very attractive.
She is very attractive, yeah.
And
Anya, I think no.
Something like that.
Yeah.
She was in the. Have you seen The Northman?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you gotta watch The Northman. She's in that. She's awesome. And
she's so good.
And then there's Alexander Skarsgård.
Have you seen Last Night in Soho?
So yeah.
That was so good.
I love it. I actually watched it in London for one of my classes.
Really?
Yeah, because I went to Soho. I went to like all the places they filmed. Yeah. Like that one bar that was like kind of underground. We saw the whole place. I want to see if I can find the photo. We're not even.
No, we're talking about next book.
Okay, yeah.
Next book.
Yeah,
so this is relevant. I swear.
Yeah,
they've already turned out. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, man, I thought we were gonna have more to say about this book, but I mean that's it. Read it.
This is still. I mean, we probably went over. Like it's probably almost an hour.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. So
this is probably a relief that it's a little shorter. Yeah, definitely read it. You can finish this in a day.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like 3 hours, 4 hours.
I loved it. I loved it. It's really good. I recommend if you like dystopian apocalypse, even vampires.
Or zombies. I feel like this more is like zombies. I don't know. He kept calling them zombies, not me.
Well, never mind what they said. Yeah, read it. But
Yeah,
let's talk about Emma some more. Actually, I need to buy my copy.
Yeah, I already have mine, so
I need to buy
it's
it. I gotta I'm trying to
free
get.
on Audible, I think.
I'm trying to do. Yeah, that's true. But I'm trying to.
It's easier to read with the writing, though. It's so much easier to read it, though. Like, because I listened to Pride and Prejudice, and a girl was rewinding every 30 seconds.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, also I'm just dumb. So, no, it's hard to listen to that kind of language. It's also British.
It's British.
But I have a harder time when it's like old British.
Yeah.
And in the slang they use, and I just have a hard time listening to that. And
I think it's hilarious. I love those.
Well, I love it, but when I'm like listening to it at work,
yeah,
I can't devote my full attention to it, which I think I need to be able to understand it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I'm gonna read it.
Yeah,
but
me
I already
too.
have a copy.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about this now a little bit, but I read 11/22/63, which you're gonna read at some point.
There's no movie for it, right?
A Hulu series.
What?
Yeah, it has James Franco as the lead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's gonna be our next book, actually.
Dude, I mean, on Audible's like over 30 hours of listening.
So this is gonna be our book in 4 months when I actually finish it?
No, I finished it within a week.
I know, that's insane to me.
Well,
I can't.
I did it at 1.5 speed, which is actually what I do most Audible books.
Yeah, me
because
too.
like a lot of them read really slowly, like painfully slow. So it was more so like 20 hours of listening, but still, it's quite good.
So like I was listening to Outlander, which I am taking a break because the husband, or her new husband, like she got in trouble, and he was like, "Well, I have to punish you somehow, so I'm gonna." Hit you with my belt. And I was like, wow, I don't like that. I don't, even though it's the 1800s, and that's kind of how it went.
Not epic.
Yeah, and she was like, you're only, you don't have to do this. You're only doing this because you would, want to. And he's like, I didn't say I didn't want to. I was like, okay, I can't. I don't care that this is fiction. I can't listen to that.
Yeah.
Because I liked him before that. Because he was actually somewhat not sexist as compared to all the other men.
Right.
It's like, oh, I can tolerate him. And then he was like, anyways, I want to beat you. And I was like, okay.
It's like the one guy in Normal People.
Mm-hmm.
That was so gross. I hated it.
Mm-hmm. There were two.
Yeah.
I mean, there were multiple.
Yeah. But the first guy. The one that was like a nerd and like borderline incel.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. So, books that are super long, it takes me forever. I think I will. I bought it before you, so.
Yeah, and I finished it before you. I want to start the series like tonight. Yeah.
Well, write your notes for when we do go over it.
I will.
So you don't forget anything. But yeah, anyways, 2 weeks from now we'll be going over Emma, and it'll finally be a lighthearted episode because I expect nothing bad to happen.
Nothing bad will happen in this book.
So, tune in next week if you're excited for I Am Legend, and tune in the week after that if you're excited for Emma and women in general and Barbie, because I also just watched Barbie, and so I will be talking a lot about that.
None of you can do better.
No. He hasn't watched it, don't listen to him.
I'm sorry.
His opinion doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
He's also a man, so.
I'm sorry to our 4 listeners.
Anyways, sorry we went off the deep end.
Yeah.
You're welcome, actually.
Yeah.
I'm only going to say positive things. No apologies, just you're welcome, and bye.
There we go.